Okay, this should be the last one. All right. Um, so when I got cut off talking about the last point here about Indian merchant ships. They're privately owned, which means the government is not participating in this stuff. And so often it was that Indian goods, whatever they're trying to trade, were pushed off onto Dutch and English vessels so they could go trade, which will later become these really big companies like the Dutch East India Trading Company. And so Europeans would buy all the stuff, and Europe wanted more and more of it. But again, they're kind of missing the mark on joining that and being like a really prominent force in the Indian Ocean trade. They're letting the Europeans kind of handle all of that. As far as women in the Mughal Empire, it's a patriarchal society, which is not any different from the Ottomans and the Safavids or China or Japan, um, or Europe. But wives do get to play key roles in all of these empires, right? Suleiman the Magnificent, his wife convinced him to execute his oldest son, so her kid could go to the throne, which is insane. So remember, a lot of these guys would have had children with other women, but because she wanted her son to be the successor, yeah, she convinced him to kill his other kid, which, yeah, it's horrible. But again, she has his ear. A Safavid's ruler's wife, so enraged that they murdered her, like because she had such a prominent place in the Shah's life that she was convincing him to do things, and they were sick of it. And then you have this wife of one of the Mughal Shahs who also had a lot of power. And she was well loved and respected. And most people, when they think of the Mughal Empire, if people know even just one thing, they literally typically remember like the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal was made during the Mughal Empire's reign by the Shah after his wife died. He had this built as a mausoleum for her. It didn't happen the way he envisioned it, but it's like a tribute to his wife. That's why the Taj Mahal exists, and now it's like a touristy attraction in India. So you can watch a video learning about the Taj Mahal. So overall, the status is pretty low of women, generally speaking, if you're not amongst the elite and the royals. You do have this common practice of child marriage where kids were kind of married off at the age of 9, girls, not boys. Girls would be married off at the age of 9-ish or a little bit older. You also have this sati, where if a husband dies or something, women would be killed as well, or would kill themselves, because it's the idea that a single woman can't really exist in society. And so if you don't have a husband to take care of you, maybe the option for them was just to not be around anymore. It was considered an illegal practice, but it didn't mean that people didn't do it. So Akbar the Great, again, he is kind of the iconic Muslim rule or Mughal ruler because he has the great tolerance, and things really come to an all-out height for the Mughal Empire during this reign. He combines all of these different religious systems to some degree to create something called divine faith. It's everyone needs to get along. So instead of having, well, you're a Muslim, or I'm a Hindu, or you're Zoroastrian, and we're all too different, what if we take elements of each one and just create this huge hodgepodge faith? And under this new religion, everyone has a little bit of their own religion there, and that'll just be like the new thing. It's a good idea, but it doesn't work. People don't really catch on. They still keep practicing their own faith. But his tolerance policies are probably the most effective. We do have meditation preached for a while in terms of seeking enlightenment, and you have something called Sikhism. Sikhism is a syncretic religion of Islam and Hindu. So both of these populations existing together create this new religion called Sikhism, which still exists today. Unfortunately, the guy who turned back all of these reforms to include Hindus in the culture, he also was not about Sikhism and beheaded the gurus in charge of promoting that. We still have a lot of culture going on. We have paintings of court life, battles, animals, public buildings, so public work systems. The Persian and Hindu culture is still found even in the Mughal Empire, coming down from the Safavid. We have a capital city that exists, but it's kind of, all this goes away after Akbar dies, unfortunately. Akbar is kind of the whole push for this culture. It doesn't mean it goes away completely, but you do see a decline in it after his reign. Things kind of get worse. So here's the guy that makes it a little worse. Restoring the empire to its, quote, former glory by going back to the old ways before Akbar, meaning we're going to treat other religions and people and that diverse population with a lot of intolerance, unfortunately. He grabs a lot of land, but it's super unstable. All his rollbacks of these reforms that had kept people kind of peacefully coexisting are now rough. And when they start being on shaky ground and they have cotton and cotton products that Europe really wants, Europe sees them as easy pickings, and the Dutch, British, and French come in with their big trade companies and start picking apart India, and will eventually lead to the British just taking over India. So here is Sikhism, again, syncretic religion, blending Hinduism and Islam, creating a whole new thing. Bunch of video about Sikhs, super interesting religion. We still, again, have a population of them today. Here's a map from 2014 or 2004 showing where you have Sikh populations. So they're still heavily in India. All right, and you can read this. It's just comparing the three empires again. Go to the PowerPoint on the Google site if you're interested in seeing this stuff. And also, I'm not going to talk about the Songhai Empire, but you can go look at it. It is in this PowerPoint. So go check it out, okay? Songhai would be Mali, so it's kind of where Mansa Musa would have come from and how that's all changed since his time, okay? All right, hopefully this was helpful.